The Witch and the Definitely Dead Detective by Sadie Brent, Chapter 1, A Twist of Fate and Packing Tape. The screech of packing tape echoed through the small kitchen, setting Evie Hutchison's teeth on edge. She winced as the sound scraped against her frayed nerves. "Ugh," she muttered, yanking the tape dispenser too hard and snapping the end off the roll. "Of course, perfect." From the counter, Spinks, her massive black cat, let out a sharp chirp, his golden eyes narrowing in feline disapproval. "Oh, don't you start with me," Evie said, plopping the dispenser onto the table. "It's not my fault the universe is determined to rub salt in the wound today." Spinks leaped onto a half-packed box, his weight causing it to tilt precariously. He regarded her with his usual air of knowing superiority, and then, in a sudden gesture of feline benevolence, nudged his head against her arm. Evie sighed, her frustration ebbing. "Okay, buddy. You win. I'll stop wallowing." She ran her hand along his sleek fur. It's been a week. First the downsizing, then the pink slip, and now the house. What's next? Locusts?" Spinks chirped again, flicking his tail over her wrist. "You're right," she said with a weary smile. "It's not all bad. We've still got each other. And hey, maybe this is the universe forcing me to make a change, huh? New doors and all that." As if on cue, a sharp knock at the door startled her out of her pep talk. "Annie?" Evie guessed aloud. Her best friend had promised to come over tomorrow, not today. She pushed the packing tape aside and made her way to the door, brushing a loose strand of brown hair from her face. Spinks trailed behind her, his tail twitching with curiosity. The sight of Annie Sloane on the porch, balancing two oversized takeout bags and wearing her signature megawatt grin, instantly brightened Evie's mood. "Surprise!" Annie sang. "Thought you could use some emergency sustenance. Hope turkey and sun-dried tomato sandwiches still qualify as your favorite." "You're a saint," Evie said, stepping aside to let her in. "Get in here before I cry all over you." They sat at the kitchen table, the scent of roasted turkey mingling with the faint lavender oil that Evie had been burning to cleanse the stress earlier. "So," Annie began, pulling the sandwich from its wrapper with surgical precision, "what's the plan?" Evie raised an eyebrow. "Plan for what? Today? Tomorrow? The rest of my life? Because I'm fresh out of ideas for all three." Annie gave her a pointed look. "Evie, you're not one to mope. I mean, okay, you're allowed a day or two, but you've been sulking for a week. It's time to get your act together. What's next?" Evie hesitated. "Honestly, I don't know. I've been looking for apartments I can afford, but you've seen my budget. The options are grim." Annie frowned. "And jobs?" Evie picked at the crust of her sandwich. "Nothing promising yet. The blog's doing okay, but it's not enough to keep me afloat, let alone Spinks and me both." Annie reached over and squeezed her hand. "Hey, you'll figure it out. You always do. And who knows? Maybe something amazing is right around the corner." Evie snorted. "Unless someone drops a winning lottery ticket in my mailbox, I don't see how." They finished their lunch, talking about everything and nothing. By the time Annie left, Evie felt marginally better, buoyed by her friend's relentless optimism. But as the afternoon turned to evening, reality crept back in. She was on the brink of losing everything she'd worked so hard to build. And worse, she had no idea how to fix it. She was gathering up the day's junk mail, mostly circulars and credit card offers, when one envelope stopped her cold. It was thick, made of expensive stationery, and bore an unfamiliar logo. Simoneau Law Offices, Stony Fork, West Virginia. "What on earth?" she murmured, carefully tearing it open. Inside was a letter, its script formal and precise. "Dear Miss Hutchison, I am the sole executor to the estate of Ms. Lisbeth Janet Hutchison of Stony Fork, West Virginia. If you were not previously aware, let me extend my condolences on the sudden passing of your great-aunt Lizzie. As her attorney and the executor and administrator of her estate, this letter serves as notification that you are her sole beneficiary. I request you to contact my office at your earliest convenience to arrange for the reading of her last will and testament. It was Miss Hutchison's great desire that her estate be distributed to you promptly upon her passing. Please do not hesitate to contact me directly at the number provided below. Sincerely, Marcellus Simoneau, Esquire." Evie stared at the letter, her pulse thudding in her ears. Great-aunt Lizzie, the same family embarrassment her mother had forbidden them to speak of, the one she hadn't thought about in decades? This This has to be a mistake, Evie said aloud, her voice trembling. Spinks meowed, rubbing against her legs. Evie dropped into a chair, the letter clutched in her hands. What on earth could Lizzie have possibly left me?